Welcome to our deep dive today,
Oh,
where we're going to be taking a journey through the life of J.R.R. Tolkien,
right.
using excerpts from his biography as our guide.
Yes.
You know him as the creator of Middle-earth.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to kind of discover more about the man behind the myths.
It's amazing how much of Tolkien's own life kind of seeps into his work, you know?
Yeah.
Creating Middle-earth, it wasn't just about crafting a fantasy world.
Right.
It was about channeling real emotions and struggles
Yeah.
into something that was both beautiful and terrifying.
Okay, let's dive into this.
Okay.
The biography starts by placing young Tolkien
Right.
on the battlefields of World War I,
Yeah.
serving in the trenches of the Somme.
Yes.
And it really makes you realize that the Shire was born from a mind that had witnessed true darkness.
The sheer brutality that Tolkien faced is hard to fathom.
Yeah.
He saw friends die,
Right.
experienced the horrors of trench fever, and witnessed firsthand the devastating impact of war.
Right.
The landscapes of Mordor and the dead marshes. You know,
Yeah.
those chilling descriptions, those stem from a place of deep understanding of human suffering.
It makes you wonder if writing those scenes was a form of catharsis for him.
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And one that many scholars have pondered. I think for Tolkien, the act of creation, even when drawing on such bleak experiences, offered a sense of hope.
Yeah.
He found solace in language, in myth, in the enduring power of storytelling.
Wow.
It's as if he transmuted the darkness of war into the light of imagination.
That's a profound way to look at it.
Yeah.
So the war clearly had a huge impact
Yeah.
on Tolkien's worldview.
Right.
But the biography also highlights his intense passion for language.
Right.
And even calls him a philologist, which I'll admit I had to look up.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
So a philologist is someone who delves deep into the history and structure of languages. They're fascinated by the evolution of words, their interconnectedness, and the ways in which language shapes our understanding of the world.
Got it.
Tolkien wasn't just fluent in many languages. He invented his own.
Hold on. You're telling me Elvish is a real language?
Well, as real as any language can be.
Wow.
Tolkien poured years into developing Quenya and Sindarin, the languages of his elves.
Right.
He crafted grammar, vocabulary, syntax, even wrote poetry.
Wow.
It wasn't just window dressing for his stories.
Right.
It was world building on a linguistic level.
That's mind-blowing.
It is, yeah.
It's like he approached language with the same meticulous care as a composer creating a symphony.
Yeah.
Every word, every syllable had a purpose.
And that's what makes Tolkien's work so captivating.
Right.
He understood that language has the power to transport us.
Yeah.
To create entire worlds that feel real. Yeah.
Because they're built on such solid foundations.
It makes you wonder what our world would be like.
Right.
If we treated language with that level of reverence and respect.
I think it's safe to say our text messages would be a lot more poetic.
Yeah, mine too, for sure.
Yeah.
But speaking of creation, let's talk about the birth of Middle-earth itself.
Yeah.
The biography dives into the origins of the Hobbit.
Right.
And it all started with a simple sentence.
Yeah.
On a blank exam paper.
Wow.
In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit.
It's amazing.
It's amazing to think that such a humble beginning sparked one of the most enduring fantasy epics of all time.
It's a reminder that inspiration can strike in the most unexpected places.
Yeah.
For Tolkien, it was while grading papers.
Right.
He probably didn't realize at the time that he'd just given birth to an entire world.
Talk about a light bulb moment.
Right?
But The Hobbit was just the tip of the iceberg, right? The biography describes how The Lord of the Rings
evolved from a simple sequel into this sprawling epic that consumed over a decade of Tolkien's life.
What's fascinating is that Tolkien never intended to write an epic.
Really?
He was drawn into it almost against his will.
Wow.
The story grew organically, taking on a life of its own, and Tolkien followed wherever it led.
It sounds like he was as much a traveler in Middle-earth as his characters were.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
He immersed himself so completely in that world that it became a living, breathing entity for him.
Wow.
And that dedication, that sense of wonder, is what continues to draw readers in even today.
It's like he wasn't just writing a story. He was uncovering a hidden truth buried deep within his imagination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he tapped into something universal.
Right.
Something that resonates with people across cultures and generations.
I'm already starting to see how Tolkien's personal experiences and his love of language shape the foundation of Middle-earth. But there's so much more to uncover.
Right.
So let's take a quick break and then dive back into this fascinating deep dive.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the life and works of J.R.R. Tolkien. We've been exploring his biography, and it's already clear that the man was as fascinating as the world he created.
And that world, Middle-earth, has transcended the boundaries of literature. It's become a cultural phenomenon inspiring everything from music to art to video games.
You're right. It's like Tolkien opened a door to a shared imagination, and people have just been rushing through it ever since, creating their own interpretations and expanding on his vision.
It's truly remarkable. You can see his influence in fantasy RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons, where the emphasis on detailed world building and intricate mythology clearly echoes Tolkien's work.
And then there are the adaptations. Of course, we have the Peter Jackson films, which brought Middle-earth to life on the big screen in such a spectacular way.
Those films were a defining moment.
For fantasy cinema.
Yeah.
They introduced Tolkien to a whole new generation and reignited the passion of longtime fans.
But even before the films, there were animated versions, radio dramas, stage productions.
Yeah.
Tolkien's work has been adapted and reinterpreted countless times each iteration, adding another layer to his already rich legacy.
And the impact goes beyond just entertainment. Tolkien's work has sparked serious academic discussion and even influenced environmental activism.
Environmental activism? That's not something I would have immediately associated with Tolkien.
Right.
But now that you mention it, I can see the connection.
Think about the Ents, for example.
Right.
These ancient tree shepherds who rise up to protect the forests from destruction. They've become an iconic symbol of the environmental movement.
It's like Tolkien anticipated our current ecological concerns decades ago.
Yeah.
He was writing about the dangers of industrialization and deforestation long before they became mainstream issues. And there are even organized groups that use Tolkien's work as a framework for exploring environmental ethics and promoting sustainability.
Wow.
It's fascinating how these stories born from a professor's imagination have become so intertwined with real-world issues.
It speaks to the universality of Tolkien's themes. His exploration of good versus evil, the power of nature, the corrupting influence of power. These are ideas that resonate across time and cultures.
And at the heart of it all lies this profound sense of hope.
Yeah.
Even in the darkest moments when all seems lost, Tolkien reminds us that courage and compassion can prevail. It's a message that continues to inspire and uplift readers, even in a world that can often feel bleak and uncertain.
That's what makes Tolkien's work so enduring. It's not just about escapism. It's about finding strength and solace in the face of adversity.
He wasn't afraid to delve into the darkness to explore the complexities of human nature and the devastating consequences of war.
Right.
But he always offered a glimmer of light, a reminder that even the smallest person can make a difference.
Like the inscription on the One Ring, even the smallest person can change the course of the future.
Yeah.
It's a powerful message that resonates far beyond the realm of fantasy.
It's a call to action, an invitation to embrace our own potential for heroism, no matter how insignificant we may feel.
It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things, understanding that our actions have consequences, and that even the smallest acts of kindness can ripple outwards, creating a positive impact on the world.
And I think that's ultimately what Tolkien's legacy is all about.
Yeah.
It's about inspiring us to be better, more compassionate, more engaged citizens of this world.
He's given us a blueprint for living a life of meaning and purpose, a life filled with adventure and wonder, even in the face of hardship.
It's a blueprint that emphasizes the importance of community, of standing together against injustice, of fighting for what's right, even when the odds seem insurmountable.
Tolkien's work is a testament to the power of storytelling, to shape our understanding of the world and to inspire us to make it a better place.
And that's a legacy worth celebrating.
Absolutely. So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, let's reflect on how Tolkien's vision continues to resonate with us today, how we can learn from his example and apply his wisdom to our own lives. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of J.R.R. Tolkien. I have to say, exploring his biography has given me a whole new appreciation for his work.
It's amazing how much depth there is to uncover, isn't it?
Yeah.
We often think of Tolkien as the father of modern fantasy, but he was so much more than that. He was a scholar, a poet, a soldier, a devoted husband and father.
Right.
All of these experiences shaped his writing and gave Middle-earth its incredible richness.
You know, in the last part, you mentioned that Tolkien's work has even influenced environmental activism.
Yeah.
That's got me thinking about the idea of escapism.
Uh-huh.
There's this notion that fantasy is all about escaping reality.
Right.
But with Tolkien, it seems like it's more about engaging with it just on a different level.
That's a really insightful observation.
Yeah.
I think Tolkien himself would have agreed with you. He didn't see his work as a way to ignore the problems of the world.
Right.
In fact, he believed that fantasy could help us to better understand those problems and even offer potential solutions.
So instead of viewing escapism as a form of denial,
right,
maybe we can see it as a way of stepping back, gaining perspective, and finding inspiration in a different realm.
Exactly. Tolkien referred to this concept as subcreation.
Okay.
It's the idea that we as humans are created in the image of God, and therefore we have the capacity to create our own worlds, stories, and art.
Right.
But this isn't about simply copying reality. It's about reflecting on it, exploring its possibilities, and perhaps even offering a glimpse of something better.
So it's like he's saying that we can use our imaginations to explore big questions about morality, good versus evil, the nature of power, all within the safe confines of a fictional world.
Precisely. And by doing so, we can gain insights that we might not have otherwise considered.
Really?
Take the One Ring, for example.
Yeah.
It's not just a magical artifact. It's a powerful symbol of the corrupting nature of power.
Okay.
How even the best intentions can be twisted and distorted when absolute power is at stake.
Wow. I never thought about it that way before.
Yeah.
It's like he's holding up a mirror to our own world, showing us the dangers of unchecked ambition and the seductive allure of power.
And the fascinating thing is that these themes resonate just as strongly today as they did when Tolkien first wrote them.
Right.
That's why his work continues to captivate readers across generations.
Yeah.
It speaks to something deep within us, our shared human experience, our struggles with good and evil, our yearning for hope in a world that can often feel dark and uncertain.
You know, given his deep Catholic faith,
Right.
I'm curious about the role of religion in his work.
Yeah.
It's not explicitly Christian, but there are definitely spiritual undertones throughout.
That's a question that scholars have debated for decades.
Really?
Tolkien himself was very clear that he didn't intend The Lord of the Rings to be an allegory for Christianity. He saw it as a fundamentally human story, rooted in our shared experience of joy and sorrow,
Right.
love and loss, courage and despair.
But at the same time, you can't deny the presence of Christian themes like sacrifice, redemption, the ultimate triumph of good over evil.
Absolutely. I think it's more accurate to say that Tolkien's faith informed his worldview.
Okay.
And by extension, his writing. He believed in the inherent goodness of creation, the importance of free will, and the power of hope, even in the darkest of times. These beliefs are woven into the fabric of Middle-earth, even if they're not explicitly stated.
It makes me think about the ending of The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Despite the immense sacrifices and losses, there's this overwhelming sense of hope and renewal.
Yeah.
It's like he's saying that even in the face of death and destruction, life goes on.
Right.
And there's always the possibility of a new beginning.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I think that's ultimately what Tolkien's legacy is all about.
Yeah.
It's about reminding us that even in a world filled with darkness, there's always light to be found. Right. It's about inspiring us to be better, braver, and more compassionate in our own lives.
And maybe, just maybe, to create our own little pockets of Middle-earth right here in the real world.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Tolkien showed us that even the most fantastical stories can have real-world relevance. They can teach us about ourselves, about our values, and about the kind of world we want to create.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but I feel like I've learned so much about Tolkien today, not just as a writer, but as a human being.
Me too. He was a truly remarkable individual, and his work continues to inspire and challenge us decades later.
So to our listeners, if you haven't already, I highly recommend diving into the world of J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yes.
You might just be surprised by what you discover.
And remember, as Tolkien himself said, not all those who wander are lost. So go forth, explore, and find your own adventures in the vast and wondrous realm of imagination.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.